Upcoming next is a session on making marketing automation conversational. I would like to invite Beerud Sheth, co-founder and Chief Executive Officer Gupshup, to share his knowledge based on the vast experience with all of us. Over to you.
I'm happy to be here, excited to talk to everyone. Just to give you a quick background on Gupshup, we are a conversational messaging platform. We transform the future of B2C conversations, right? We help businesses and brands interact with consumers in rich, engaging ways. And, I'd like to talk today about how marketing and marketing automation is becoming more and more conversational, how this is arguably one of the most significant steps forward in making, in customer experience and customer engagement. So let's just dive in, right? I think just to start with something basic that I'm sure all of you are familiar with, but clearly, brand marketers are betting big on automation, right? They are automating every part of the marketing lifecycle, whether it's customer experiences, it's sort of, lead generation and lead flow automation and lead qualification and, customer interactions as well. And that continues to drive more and more, virtually every channel of communication, virtually every customer touch point is getting automated and so on, right? However, I think in spite of all of this investment in marketing automation, the results are still somewhat mixed. And, partly because there's a lot of challenge, because a lot of marketing has traditionally focused on really one-way communication, right? It's really brands talking at customers rather than talking to customers, right? It's really, whether it's broadcasting or even social media engagement and so on, tends to be very one-way sort of communication. And consumers are, tuning out, they're ad blocking, they're opting out, they're tuning out some of these engagement. I mean, they're overwhelmed, there's an information overload, and it really gets harder and harder for brands to stand out. And as marketers try more and more creative ways to either shout louder or to, shock the user or to draw their attention, it's becoming, it sort of perpetuates the vicious cycle because it, is even more intrusive, even more distracting, and it causes even more fatigue, right? So the solution to that really is not to talk to customers, or rather to talk to customers as opposed to talking at customers, right? Engaging in sort of a two-way conversation, really in an individual way, right? In a one-on-one setting, that's sort of a natural, intuitive, interactive way to communicate with customers, right? But traditionally, that's been very hard to do on scale, right? I mean, imagine a small shop, right? Usually when a customer walks in, they're having a one-on-one chat, building a relationship, becoming a trusted advisor, really understanding the customer need, and then catering to that need. And that's okay at small scale, but how do you replicate that with tens of millions of consumers, right? And that's why traditionally with the marketing tools available, the only option then would be to leverage sort of whether it's broadcast media or even if it's digital and interactive media, but it's still sort of the same message, broadcast to lots of people, and it's mostly one-way communication. Well, the exciting thing is, with the rise of conversational messaging, it is now possible for brands to have one-on-one conversations with everyone, right? To really have these individualized, personalized interactions and to do it on a massive scale. And I think brands that have done it and customers that have been surveyed have talked about how it just feels more natural, more intuitive, more personal, more engaging. Customers are listening, are responding, are interacting. And it's a big difference, the moment you go from these traditional one-way paradigms to sort of two-way conversational paradigm, right? So really, the main point that I'd like you to take away from this is that there's a huge need to automate two-way conversations between brands and consumers. And I'm going to illustrate with some examples and some details about how that works and what it means. Okay. So firstly, if you think about mobile first countries, right, whether it's India or Latin America or Southeast Asia, Middle East and Africa, I mean, in all of these regions, these regions leapfrog to the smartphone, right? So mobile is a much bigger part of the digital ecosystem compared to, let's say, the desktop or laptop, right? And then even within and on that smartphone, the number one digital experience is the messaging app, right? By far, the frequency and intensity of usage of messaging apps, whether it's WhatsApp or WeChat in China or Telegram or other, Instagram and so on, other messaging apps. I think this is where users, most of us use it 50 to 100 times a day, or maybe even more. This is where users are spending all of their time. And therefore, if brands want to engage consumers, especially younger users, then you need to engage with them on their terms, go where they are, and it's they are inside the messaging app, right? And in particular, brands can with sort of conversational messaging capabilities now, brands can make every step of the customer life cycle conversational, right? Sort of from the whether it's the pre-purchase part of the journey, these are all the marketing like use cases, lead gen, lead qualification, and so on, or the purchase part of the journey, where it's transaction, commerce, shopping, payments, ordering, booking, and so on, making reservations, and then finally the post-purchase part of the journey as well, whether it's customer support, returns, cancellations, refunds, and things like that. Sort of across the entire customer life cycle, every customer touch point can be made conversational, right? And to just give you a picture of what it looks like, right? I mean, this is what a conversational experience looks like, whether it's on WhatsApp or on Instagram or RCS or any of these messaging channels, or SMS, of course, right? Which has long been popular. Really enabling rich experiences right inside the messaging app, right? So this is an example of a marketing like use case, or this is an example of a commerce use case where consumers can place orders, do transactions, make payments, and so on, or a customer support like use case where there are queries, frequently asked questions, troubleshooting, and so on. And as you can see here, these experiences are right inside the user's favorite messaging app, whether it's SMS, whether it's WhatsApp, could be Instagram, could be RCS, and so on. In each of these cases, there is no new app download. The user doesn't have to download an app. And in any case, when you think about mobile apps, firstly, there's a download barrier. People don't like downloading a lot of apps, except maybe the top 100 or 200 apps. Consumers don't download as much. And even the apps that they've downloaded, they don't stay as engaged. They oftentimes uninstall and churn out, right? But the messaging app is a mainstay, right? It's always there. Those messages are always looked at. They're always interacted. So in some sense, it's just much easier. It's sort of like think outside the app, right? Instead of building yet another app and forcing the users to download and stay engaged in it, instead, this makes it much easier and much more convenient for the consumer, because they continue to use the apps that they're familiar with, and they engage with these brands on terms that are convenient and comfortable to them. Right. So just to elaborate on the customer life cycle, literally every aspect of it, every possible customer touch point can be made entirely conversational, right? So whether it's on the front end of the life cycle, product discovery, lead generation, users asking about products, asking about prices and discounts and negotiating and so on, right? Whether it's that part or sort of the commerce and operations part of it, ordering, payments, fulfillment, delivery tracking, logistics, and so on, or finally around services, could be servicing, maintaining, upselling, cross-selling. I mean, all of these use cases are possible through these sort of conversational experiences. Okay, and these are just some mocks or screenshots that makes it more visual or visible. And as you can see, right, consumers are already doing this. They're doing this in very high volumes, very high scale, whether it's on WhatsApp, on Instagram. They're using it to engage with their friends, with influencers, with celebrities, and so on. And now, if they can also interact with brands in the same place, in the same way, it is, the results have been amazing for the brands that have tried it. And fortunately, services like WhatsApp and Instagram, they've been adding more features and capabilities. And then on top of it, Gupshup and companies like us have also been enabling and making this easier for brands to use features such as this, right? So you can display a catalog, you can display sort of a survey question for lead gen, for lead qualification. So, we've seen sort of banks doing lead qualification, e-commerce companies, many companies driving sort of a diversity of use cases to enable all of this. And as you can see from these screens, these experiences are very simple, very easy to use, something that consumers do day in and day out anyway for all of their chats with friends and family or all of their social media engagement and so on. But this is different from social media, like I said, right? These are one-on-one conversations. These are private, which means whether they're personalized offers, deals, discounts, account balances, I mean, all of that is possible in these private conversations, right? So just to illustrate with a few case studies here, right? This is an example of a online real estate service broker. And what they found was, while they had a website previously, but by enabling that experience on WhatsApp, it made it a lot easier for people to upload photos of their homes that they were looking to rent. And it made it suddenly the number of listings, the level of engagement just went up dramatically. And the time to activating a new property or a new listing on the website went down from a day approximately to an hour, right? So just a dramatic improvement and enhancement in the user experience and user engagement. This is an example of a fintech company and lending, and they provide loans for people buying a two-wheeler in this case. But the traditional process, right, with KYC and paperwork for getting a loan would take about 2 to 3 days. So imagine, right, a consumer walks into a dealership to buy a two-wheeler, and ultimately they have to leave. They have to fill in an application for the loan, which will take 3 days. But now with full conversational automation, they were able to dramatically reduce this time to like 2 to 3 minutes. And it's literally instant gratification for the consumer, right? And this has really transformed their business and is transforming the industry as well, because the whole the consumer experience, the dealership experience is just much simpler and better. This is an example, of course, of a bank that has converted their typical normal one-way transactional notifications. They've converted them into two-way upsell conversations, right? An opportunity to offer more products to consumers. Did you know we also have this, or this might be relevant for you based on your prior history or your accounts with us, right? So it makes it much more feasible. And I think it's driven huge results for Citi. And here's an educational and edtech use case where they're providing support to students, right? In addition to the educational content available online, They're also providing experience in multiple languages to users to support their learning over time. So I think that's this is just sort of a quick overview about sort of driving conversational marketing, really, right? Driving and just changing the nature of B2C interactions. This is conversational experiences is a powerful way to drive more customer engagement, to drive more business, to build a trusted relationship, to get the customers to not tune out, to engage in a conversation, to listen, and then all of that translates into more purchases, more repeat purchases, more revenues, more profits, and more customer satisfaction as well. So I hope you would consider that. And if any of you are interested in reaching out to us, we'll be happy to facilitate and share more as well. Thank you so much for your time, and thank you for listening.
Thank you, Mr. Sheth, for the brilliant content shared by you. Indeed, very informative. Ladies and gentlemen, a reminder to explore the expo area for all the useful videos and presentations stored at the partner booths. Hope you'll find them useful.